Alright guys, we're back again. Look what came in. Our fuel pump and our fuel filter. Here are the part numbers if y'all need them. But yeah, we're gonna get those in today and see if that fixes our problem. Alright, so as far as the disassembling of this old pump, it should be pretty straightforward. We gotta get that old piece of hose out, and there's a connector right here in the back on the top of the pump, and we gotta take that out, and then we'll just take it out of this cell, this fuel cell, and or bracket, whatever you want to call it, and then we'll put the new one in. Alright, so first up are these hose clamps, and they look pretty rotted on there. Might need two hands to do this. Alright, once we got those moving, just gonna pry up this piece of hose. There we go. And now for the pump itself, you just push this connector. But yeah, you push that little back part of that connector, and the pump will come out. Do that, and bam, we got our old pump out. So for this piece of hose, I'm gonna take our pliers, grip it at the top, and spin it until it breaks free. And then move our connector out the way. We can pull this off. Just give it a little twist, and boom, it's off. So you want to make sure this part right here, you don't do no damage to it. That's your fuel level sender. So if you mess that up, then yeah, your fuel level might not be accurate anymore. I ordered these parts off of rockauto.com, and I'll leave that that link in the description if you never heard of Rock Auto or you want to check it out. But they got parts for just about every car from what I see, every year or two, pretty much. But the parts that we have that's included with this fuel pump, and it was pretty cheap too. It was like $20 something, maybe. I don't even know if it was that much. But we got our new bottom little rubber grommet piece. We got two new clamps, got an O-ring. We got our little clip to secure the filter onto the bottom of the pump, and we got a new piece of hose to replace that piece we already had. And we of course got the fuel pump. We also got our new filter, our sock or whatever you want to call it. This is not the inline filter, but this is the filter that goes on the bottom of the fuel pump. The strainer really is what I believe they call it. But it came with its own little clip too to secure it onto the bottom of the fuel pump. So as far as installing the strainer onto the fuel pump, I'll take off our little cover. And this came with a little cover on it too. Pretty nice. Take off our covers. We're gonna take the sock and just pop it on. And we're gonna line that hole up with that peg. But it takes a little force. So once it's fully seated, you'll see almost no play or no space between where that ring is. You can barely see where that ring is and where that little gap right there is. And you see how much exposed room is on this nub. You make sure it's fully on there. Next, you take your little ring. You can use either one, the one that came with the pump or the one that came with the filter. I'm gonna use the one that came with the filter. Oh, and it comes with two. I guess in case you lose one, you have another. We'll slide that onto this nub. And you want the, ooh, almost lost it. So like they said too. But you want the protruding part of these teeth See how one side is sticking up, the other side flat. You want the part that's sticking up to be the part that is exposed facing towards you, and you'll use a little pair of pliers or something to push those on. And once you do, bam, secure it on there. Alright, so we got our holes and clamps on the pump. Now we're gonna slide it up. Turn it a little bit. Perfect. So now, take a little grommet. We'll tighten up these two clamps and our fuel cell will be ready to go back in there. Just be careful and make sure that your sock or your filter or strainer or whatever you prefer to call it, and your bobber, make sure you don't hit them on the opening inside the fuel tank. Take your time. Feed that bobber in first and the sock. To line it up. And now we're gonna put our 8 screws back in, and we're gonna tighten up that fitting and put that hose back on. And we'll plug it up and test her out. So now we have our fuel pump fully put back in. We tightened down those Phillips head screws, and we even put the cover back on, connected the connector. So it's the moment of truth. It runs. So now, and yeah, it's kind of loud because I'll tell you about that later. We'll fix that issue. But we got us a good running car. So we got us a runner, which means we got a car to flip. So at this point, you should check and make sure there's no fuel leaks. And no, we're solid. No leaks coming from the hoses. It's a very quiet pump. I barely heard it turning the car on.